So you are both leading us to this distinction in terms of those many parts, they do the work. What is it we choose to identify with? And do we choose to identify with how that orchestra, how that system shows up in a moment, or with one of its parts? And what that brings me to is the recognition that why this is so important, because one of the most penalizing impositions of this conventional thinking that suggests that you are one thing, and that is often coupled with the thinking that the highest thing you can be is become you, which is of course a novel idea. It's a great idea, nothing wrong with that. Just this logic presents itself with a double whammy. And double whammy in the sense of separating us, separating the human from the range, the broader range of what may become possible for human life. The first chaos is when I say to myself or treat myself as though I am one bulk commodity, failing to realize what you all just said. The multiple inner lives, the multiple voices, the multiple speeds, the multiple inner hues and colors, that a life is the composite of all those things. And if I treat myself as a commodity, as one bulk commodity, I cut myself from the larger range. And I fail to realize that those different parts you are describing, they each bring their energy and their vibrancy and their endurance and their intelligence. And that all, by the way, part of that orchestra, as some of you alluded to, is perhaps there is some kind of an orchestrating intelligence, call it a soul, call it whatever. There is that inner loom of intelligence. One way to think about a soul is perhaps as an orchestrating intelligence loom. And that it is accompanied by that other spark of consciousness, because that orchestration that you're all describing, and Don, that you just focused on, it happens at an automatic level. You don't need to involve, as you said, your consciousness. But then, so you have an orchestra that at one level runs at a robotic, automated level, and then on top of that, you have that spark of consciousness. Perhaps call it a spirit, or call it consciousness, whatever you choose to call it. All of those are part of the compound composite that we each are. And if I say or treat myself as though I'm one thing, I'm cutting myself off from that range, that permission, that possibility. The second chaos is this thinking that I alluded to at the beginning of I want to be me. I want to be famous, I want to be successful, I want to be rich, I want to be whatever. Which is very much part of that postmodernity fallacy, so prime now. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to be oneself. Actually, it's a novel idea. It's rather a recent development for our species in the way we can think and sense into it today. But the problem is that it narrows again the range. And what we are proposing, we're trying to sense with all your contemplations here, is the idea of becoming a human first and becoming yourself within that broader premise second, rather than the other way around. Because if you begin with, I want to be me, I want to be my authentic voice, I want to you cut yourself again prematurely from the broader discovery of what becoming a human can open to. Because ultimately, what we can begin to sense through those different articulations you're offering to the human orchestra is that there is a permission for human life, there is a range available for human life, where rather than being all too worried about finding my voice, which is so important, I do want to find my voice, but can I first discover that a human can liberate a broader range of voices, and I then may be able to discover my voice within the broader range of permission that's available for me. So it's a distinction with a difference. The difference being opening versus closing, broadening versus narrowing, personalizing versus universalizing. So I'm interested if there is anything else that anybody is ready to offer, because partly what I am in this still early inquiry, initial inquiry, searching for is the idea that when you begin to encompass and embrace the kind of thinking that you each offered from a different angle, you are each offering a pathway to transcend the myopic view of I'm one thing. And one thing we know from observing the human condition is that when we arrest ourselves in myopic view about who we are and about who everybody else is, we tend to more often than not find ourselves on two polarizing ends of what we like and what we dislike. And part of the premise in the exploration is, do I need to learn first to embrace my larger orchestral symphonic range as a prerequisite to allow me to see and recognize and appreciate the broader orchestra that's around me. So please, who wants to come on this or any other aspect of what we're exploring?
I could try something here. I was very caught by the understanding that a lot of what we do physically and other levels of us is oftentimes automatic. So we don't have to bring our consciousness into thinking about every movement. I'm going to pick up this glass, therefore I have to stretch my right arm and do that because it happens for you. Thank goodness. But then I keep coming back to this. It's anything in our life can become an automatic sort of system or reaction. We go to work every day, we have a family life. At some point, if we're not careful, even the important things in our life become part of that automatic, it just goes on by itself without me thinking about it, without me bringing any extra value to what's happening. And so I guess I'm trying to wonder how, at any given moment, I mean, a human can decide to do anything we want to do. We have choice. So how does a human decide what they want to do? And how do they decide what is truly important in their life? And they don't want to be an automatic. They want to bring their awareness and their consciousness and actually have something more, have something deeper, bring a deeper value to whatever it is they decide to do, because it is a multiplicity. But there's a real danger sometimes too. We realize it's a multiplicity and everything is coming at us in such a strong way. How do you know where to focus your attention? How do you decide what you want to do? And I guess it comes back to trying to figure out, so what is me, little me, what is my purpose in life? What do I want to do? And so it kind of comes down to, how do you make a fundamental decision? What do I want to do with this life? That then helps you as you're going on. Things that are automatic stay automatic. Things that are important kind of bring in, and there's an opening for you to do something different and grow and expand and realize all this multiplicity, what it can do. But coming back to, how does a person decide for themselves what they want to do with this amazing opportunity.
Well, it's a fair inquiry because you could equally argue that for most people, they don't decide. That, as you said, life is either an autopilot default option, and there again, there is a blessing in the idea that, as several of you, as you said, you don't depend on your mission critical life survival type processes on your choices. You can choose even not to wake up in the morning and stay in bed, but your body will still ensure that you're breathing, right? But I wonder, even with what you're saying, Patrick, because for many people, they don't choose. They perhaps find themselves within a certain direction. It's almost as though they discover the music they play before they've had a chance to decide about it. So the inquiry of purpose is important and interesting here, but could lead us in a variety of different directions. What are some other entries here, other thoughts about still?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're pressing back toward is the aspect of discovery, because the discovery part of it is looking at these two parts. So you have the part that is the what you are, and then you also have the part of the what to do with it. So it's like how to apply it, how to use it, and as you go through the discovery process of what you are or what's possible, what the pieces can be, it's like it bounces back and forth with helping to both define and helping to support, and then it goes back and forth with what you can then do with it. And then so you do that piece and you see that there's limitation, or you see that there's extra benefit, then you have a choice there to go one direction, go another direction, see that you want to build something else. Or it's almost like those are two parts, and they're on equal footing, rocking back and forth, but it's almost like you look at it from something higher, and it's an echo chamber where the two pieces are combining into a more useful picture, because there's always the growth of what you are and what's possible, but then there's always the decision of what you do with it. So it seems that it's multiple parts going on at one time.
You're proposing that not only are we a multiplicity within the orchestra, but that really we are two orchestra in one. One orchestra is the robotic orchestra that runs on autopilot, and the other is perhaps the upper chamber orchestra. Sometimes you have the choirs, right, on top of the higher. So you could use that metaphor from Kyrie in the way you were painting the orchestra before, and perhaps that other upper orchestra is the one that's to do with your choice functions, consciousness functions, mindfulness functions, what it is that you bring focus and attention and value and significance for, and that when we look at a human, we really are looking at these two orchestras, and when they work together in harmony, they both enhance each other. So when you're in great well-being and vitality, energy-wise, physiologically, biologically, and every other aspect, you free up your creative, mental reach to compose and engage with greater, more complex pieces of whatever it is you are creating. And when the intentional part of you works well, it imparts well-being back to your foundational orchestra. That is, I suppose, one way to describe the two parts you are painting.
Somebody made a comment the other day at work where a project was having to hit the field too fast, and they said, this is like building the boat while you're trying to sail it. And I think that that's really where we find ourselves a lot in human life, is that all those pieces that go on, we're trying to assemble it while we're trying to live it, while we're trying to, to reach better aspects of our life with it. So I think what you're saying is a really good description, but it feels sometimes like there's so much in the picture that we have to work with that you can get lost easy.